These days, frugal living isn't just a trend in Australia, it's survival. Behind every grocery bill, every energy payment, and every rent increase, there's a quiet struggle nobody talks about. And yet, it's the one thing nearly every Australian feels. There's a quiet shift happening across the country, one that cannot always be seen but can certainly be felt. For years, life moved with a familiar rhythm. Mornings filled with routine, afternoons shaped by work, evenings spent unwinding before doing it all again the next day. But slowly, almost subtly, the cost of simply existing began to rise. Prices in grocery stores crept upward, rents surged beyond expectations, and monthly bills that once fit neatly into a budget suddenly refused to cooperate. For many households, the change didn't strike all at once. Instead, it arrived in small, almost unnoticeable increments. A few dollars more here, a slight increase there, until suddenly, the difference became impossible to ignore. What used to be manageable began to feel tight, and what once felt tight now feels suffocating. This is the new reality for millions, an emotional and financial landscape that has transformed ordinary life into a series of strategic decisions. What to buy, what to postpone, what to let go of, and what to pray will wait just one more week. The weight behind every bill. Bills have taken on new meaning. They no longer sit quietly on the table, waiting patiently for their turn. Instead, they arrive like uninvited guests, demanding attention, time, and emotional energy. Electricity, rent, insurance, subscriptions, tuition fees, loan repayments. They form a silent mountain of obligations that must be climbed every single month. The financial strain doesn't end with the payment. It lingers long after, shaping how people think, sleep, and make decisions. For some, the stress arrives as a racing heartbeat at night. For others, it's a constant cycle of mental math, calculating how much is left, how long it will last, and what still needs to be covered. Even small expenses begin to feel amplified. A spontaneous coffee run becomes a debate. A dinner outing turns into guilt. A modest purchase leads to a moment of hesitation. The thought is always the same. Can I afford this? Should I be doing this? The truth is simple yet painful. Financial pressure is never just about money. It is about the emotional burden that follows people everywhere, tucked into daily routines like an invisible shadow. The emotional cost of comparison culture. In a world dominated by digital screens, another layer of pressure has found its way into modern life: comparison. Every scroll, every post, every perfectly curated moment creates an illusion of ease. People see the highlights of others, their holidays, their new homes, their gifts, their latest purchases, and quietly wonder why life seems harder for them. But what the screens don't show are the unseen sacrifices behind those snapshots. The compromises, the debts, the private worries, the sleepless nights. Social media rarely reveals the full story. Still, comparison lingers, and with comparison comes a subtle, growing pressure to keep up, to spend like others, to live like others, to maintain an image of stability even when the reality looks very different. This silent societal pressure deepens financial stress, pushing people to stretch beyond their limits, even when they know they shouldn't. The emotional cost? A constant sense of inadequacy, a fear of falling behind, a quiet question that repeats itself. Am I doing enough? Families caught in the middle. Families experience this pressure differently. For parents, the challenge is rarely about themselves. It is about giving their children what they need. School supplies, extracurricular activities, nutritious meals, transportation, clothing, medical care. Each category represents love, responsibility, and sacrifice. But each category also represents cost. Behind every school enrollment is a calculation. Behind every birthday celebration is a compromise. Behind every yes is a silent decision to say no to something else. Parents carry this weight with determination, often hiding their worry behind reassurances, smiles, or jokes. They want their children to feel supported, not pressured. They want home to be a safe space, not a place where financial limits are constantly discussed. But even the strongest parents feel the strain when prices rise faster than incomes. Still, families find ways to adapt. They plan, they prioritize, they stretch budgets farther than anyone would believe possible. They create resilience out of necessity, turning small moments into meaningful memories even when money is tight. Young adults finding their way. For young adults, financial pressure takes a different shape. Many entered adulthood with dreams of independence, moving into their own place, building a career, saving for the future. But reality introduced a different storyline. Shared rentals, tight budgets, and incomes that can barely keep up with essential expenses. The road to independence has become longer, narrower, and more complicated. Rising housing costs push many young people to delay milestones, moving out later, saving slower, or restructuring life plans entirely. Savings that should have gone toward investments or travel are redirected toward bills and survival. And yet, young adults carry something powerful: adaptability. They learn quickly, they find creative ways to budget, they take on side jobs, they embrace new skills, and they push through setbacks with determination. Though their path may be steep, they continue to climb. Silent battles nobody talks about. One of the most painful parts of financial stress is how silent it can be. People carry their worries quietly, tucked beneath smiles and small talk. They attend gatherings pretending everything is stable. They laugh at jokes even when their mind is calculating expenses. They continue their tasks at work even when their chest feels tight. Behind the scenes, these silent battles can look like staring at a bank balance repeatedly, hoping it will change, delaying medical appointments, skipping meals to save money, pretending to be busy to avoid outings they can't afford, feeling guilty for buying even the smallest comforts, crying quietly in a car after a stressful day, pretending to be okay because the world expects strength. Millions experience these hidden moments, yet most believe they are alone. They're not. This silent struggle is far more common than anyone admits, and recognizing it is the first step toward easing the emotional weight. How pressure shapes daily decisions. Financial pressure affects every part of life, not just monthly budgeting. It shapes what people eat, how they sleep, how they communicate, and how they see themselves. It influences career decisions, relationships, health habits, and long-term planning. People begin to cut back on things that once brought joy. They cancel subscriptions, postpone gatherings, reduce leisure activities, and avoid purchases that used to feel effortless. Even celebrations, birthdays, holidays, milestones become carefully calculated events. This constant state of restraint creates exhaustion, not the physical kind, but the emotional exhaustion of always having to think, plan, and adjust. It drains creativity, reduces motivation, and tests patience. But through this challenge emerges something else: clarity. People start recognizing what truly matters. They learn which expenses matter and which ones never did. They begin investing time in things that don't require money: conversations, walks, gratitude, self-improvement. Slowly, priorities shift toward meaning rather than consumption. The turning point: when awareness becomes strength. Awareness is a powerful tool. Once people begin to understand the root of their stress, the pattern of their habits, and the emotional triggers behind their spending, something remarkable happens. Clarity replaces chaos. Awareness is not a solution on its own, but it is the foundation for solutions. With clarity, people can begin to identify unnecessary expenses, create realistic budgets, set achievable goals, simplify their lifestyle, develop healthier financial habits, seek support when needed, regain confidence in their decisions. The turning point begins not with a financial action, but with a mental shift. The recognition that financial stress is not a personal failure. It is a shared challenge shaped by global forces, rising costs, and complex circumstances. This shift allows people to breathe again, to think again, to plan again. Building stability through small steps. Big changes are overwhelming, but small steps are powerful. When people begin taking gentle, realistic actions, tracking expenses, adjusting habits, planning ahead, they build momentum. A little progress becomes a little more. A tiny bit of stability becomes a foundation. Financial well-being does not require perfection. It requires consistency, and that consistency begins with one small act of awareness, one moment of honesty, one step toward clarity, one choice to prioritize needs, one habit that makes tomorrow easier than today. These small steps, repeated over time, rebuild confidence and create space for calm. They transform uncertainty into understanding and stress into strategy. A story still being written. This narrative is not about struggle alone. It is about endurance, clarity, and the quiet strength people develop through difficult seasons. Every person facing financial pressure is carrying a story filled with resilience. Every day they continue trying is a day worth honoring. And the story is still being written. People are learning, adapting, and growing. They are discovering healthier habits, better tools, and new ways to manage uncertainty. They are redefining success based on what truly matters: stability, peace, and purpose. Financial stress may be widespread, but so is determination. And as long as people continue taking small steps, seeking clarity, making conscious decisions, and trusting their own resilience, the story ahead holds hope.